Hello, I'm Elizabeth, an obsessive backyard gardener who might be able to offer you a couple of tips.
And I'm Keith, a landscape consultant, and I'm also passionate about gardening.
The one thing we both have in common is muddy boots. August is a month of anticipation in the garden. Spring is just around the corner, plants are beginning to wake up, and there's plenty we can do now to set ourselves up for a productive season ahead. So today, Keith and I are going to talk about the key jobs to tackle in Australian gardens during the month of August, aren't we, Keith?
We will, absolutely.
Okay, so then what are the most important gardening jobs to focus on in August, taking into consideration there are only 4 weeks left to spring?
Well, probably the most important thing to think about this month is actually the high growth period.
Right, yeah.
For this month.
Which is?
And that is from the 15th of August until the 25th of August.
It's always a pretty good period.
It's a great period. And why this is such an important month for me in particular is because this is the time that we shall be sowing seeds of tomatoes,
Of course.
chilies, capsicums, eggplants, and these are all the plants that take a long time to actually get up and get above the ground and get growing and start to become a sizable plant that you can then stick in the ground once the soil temperatures start to warm up a bit, which is going to be around about November.
Right.
This is
So
when it
you're
starts.
sowing those seeds and putting them in your hothouse.
They're going in the hothouse,
Greenhouse,
yes.
hothouse.
Yep.
So people can, other gardeners can sow them now and put them inside if they don't have a hothouse?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So
Depending on where you live, of course.
Yeah, but there are lots of, and more so now. I've noticed, having looked at some other posts on Instagram, that there's lots and lots of small containers now that you can get that are portable little hothouses that they've got little lights, they've got temperatures, they've got everything in them that set you up for success for starting and growing.
Great.
But the key to all this, as I said before, is knowing when the high growth period is.
Okay.
So that moon calendar is very important.
Need to have, if you haven't got the moon calendar,
You're crazy.
why haven't you got it? You need it. But apart from vegetables, there are things like, obviously this is the time to plan your spring bulbs, dahlias, things like that. Plant citrus. Is it a good time to plant citrus now?
Well, yes, it is. It's a great time to be doing that. And things that aren't those sorts of things like vines. There's some vines you could be starting. And one that I would really, really, really recommend people have a go if they want to have in their garden, a black passion fruit.
Okay.
So this is the time that you can actually start sowing seeds of black passion fruit in a warm environment and get them up and going.
Okay.
Because
Don't
they'll
put them
just
in the
take
ground,
off.
but get the seeds going. Okay. All right. How can we improve our soil before the growing season begins?
Well, we always
I know
get
we
back
talk
to
about it, but we've got to keep telling people, because if you don't have good soil,
it's something,
your garden doesn't grow well.
It's something we just got to keep on hammering because
To remind you, in case you've forgotten.
And I'm noticing that also on Instagram now, that there are other organisations coming on board just promoting just how important soil health is.
Oh, good.
Not just for us residential places, but more into the commercial lines of things too.
Okay.
So big, mass farms and all that sort of
Yes.
stuff, they're really starting to push this now.
Oh, good.
And I think it's great.
That
And
regenerative
it's about
farming.
time they all caught on.
Regenerative.
We've been banging on about this for I don't know how many years. There was I planted an espaliered apple the other day and did some posts on it, and I had a guy comment to say, "Oh, gee whiz, I wish I had soils of the quality that you've got there, Keith." And I thought,
Well,
gee whiz,
you can.
hang on a minute, that's how I started out, was poor soils. It was rubbishy soil that I started out with. But now everyone looks at it and says, oh, goodness gracious, how did he get that good soil? Hard work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So did you respond to that?
I did
and
respond,
told him
saying-
exactly what he needs to do?
Yep.
What can you remind us again, very quickly, what do we need to do?
We need to incorporate as much compost into the soil, and if you can get hold of the lignite humate, that is a wonderful thing to retain moisture and provide spaces for microbes to live in. Utilize things like organic mulches underneath the soil, Myco Gold if you're going to be planting anything that's has longevity, like trees and shrubs, and also utilising or putting microbes into the soil by putting in Populate or Go-Go juice. You know, these are incredibly important.
Monash rock dust.
Monash rock dust is another great one. EEC.
That's right.
Liquid fish fertiliser. Brilliant.
That's right. Yep. So I think if you don't know that, well, if you're commenting like that guy was commenting, he just needs to.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't know how long these people have been following. They might have just started yesterday.
Yeah, true.
Oh, I just saw a hole you dug. Your soil looks fabulous.
Oh, well, maybe.
But there's a reason for it.
Yes, exactly. It doesn't just happen. Unfortunately, it would be good if it did. What sort of fertilising should we be doing at this time of the year?
If you're going to be fertilising, make sure you're applying organic fertilisers. Don't ever put any granular fertilisers that have a synthetic basis, because all you're doing is destroying what's beneath the soil. To an extent. So anything organic. So Rooster Booster is one that I love. I've just applied some Rooster Booster to all my lawn areas, for instance. Then yesterday I went out the backyard and with my EEC, and I got this fertigator now that just plugs onto the tap. It's called a fertigator. So I put the concentrate of EEC into the container, plug it onto the tap, plug a hose into it, and go and put the water with the liquid fertiliser all over the garden.
You've got all of the little implements, haven't you?
Where do you
get a fertigator from?
You can get online, and I will have a thing we can send to people.
Okay.
At the end of the show.
Oh, right. The link to the
link to that particular site. Mine's only a little 3-litre unit, but it is just absolutely fantastic. And as we speak, our friend Matt Phillips will be using mine today to put over lawn he's just laying as we speak now, and then fertilising all the plants that he's put in this landscape job across the road from my place.
Perhaps he can use it when he comes to my house.
He will come
and
do it here at your place, and I tell you what, don't go outside because it smells.
I like it when it smells, because you know something positive is happening. What herbs and vegetables can we actually plant in the ground in August? Are there any? Have you got a list that you can mention? Is it a good time to do that, or is it not really? Should we?
No, you can certainly put lots
lettuces and things like that. Tell us.
Yeah. I guess the way that you look at this is that if you go down to your local nursery and just have a look at what you're missing in your garden.
Yeah.
So just recently, I've just pulled out marjoram, for instance, out of the tub, because it was getting to 3 or 4 years old. So it starts to get long and leggy,
yes.
and the branches become rather thick and twiggy. So I've just ripped that out and replanted some new marjoram, and it's going absolutely gangbusters. And we'll harvest that and dry that, and then put it into jars, which is just superb.
Oh, okay,
yep.
That's a good idea.
I've planted thyme, and I've also put in a new salvia, a new, edible salvia. Sage.
Yep,
yeah,
okay.
So we call it sage.
Beautiful. I've got some rocket out there, which is I've been so busy trying to take all the flowers off because I didn't want to self-seed that I've taken every flower off, and now it looks like it's gone. So because I'm so scared things are going to, self-seed. And so I need to get some more rocket and my mint. So rocket, arugula and mint and things like that. Mine's been in a pot. My mint's been in a pot for too long and it's looking a bit sad, and I need to do the same thing.
So that's time. And I've just cut our mint right back, and of course now that it's coming back in, leaps and bounds.
Yeah, sometimes you have to go for the new stuff. It's obviously going to be quite different up north where it's warmer, but
exactly.
We just have to look at, as you said, go to the nursery and see what is
available. See what's available.
Yeah, fantastic. Can you recommend some beautiful flowering plants that we can pop in now for spring, Keith? Because that's what we love to see in spring.
Well, you
some
can.
colour, some lovely colour.
You can put lots of plants in now. You can direct sow, for instance, this time of the year, snow peas.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Yep. You can put in sweet peas.
Yeah, I was going to, right.
And have those beautiful colours and
so they'd
perfume,
be slightly later flowering because we're putting them in now.
This month is the time to direct sow those.
Yep.
Cornflowers, another great one to be putting
beautiful.
in. Poppies.
Yes,
are also good. And then, of course, to start indoors in this month are things like cosmos, snapdragons, and marigolds, which are going to be fantastic if you're going to be putting in tomatoes later on as a companion plant. So those sorts of things can go into the house and get them up and growing. So you can put them in.
Just take over the house. Don't worry about the furniture. Plants are more important. What pruning jobs should gardeners be tackling during this month around Australia?
Okay, so the pruning jobs that you'd want to be doing now in this month would be having a look at your apple trees and your pears. some of them might still be carrying some foliage, particularly some of the later varieties, but don't worry about that. It's also a good time now to get out there and to prune those back. With your other fruit trees, which are all bare at this stage, which would be your nectarines and your peaches and your plums, it's a great time now to be thinking about putting some lime sulphur or some copper fungicides on. Okay. So go out, because particularly with leaf curl on peaches and nectarines. This is when you need to be applying the lime sulphur and then alternate it with a copper fungicide. And also, if you've got fruit trees, there's a particular fungus that hits fruit trees. It's called shot hole. And the reason it's called shot hole is when you look at the leaf, it's got all these little holes through it. And that's a fungus that hits it. So now's the time to be spraying lime sulphur and a copper fungicide on a weekly alternate basis. But you've got to spray it to the point where it's running off the branches. You can't just go out there and just go whish, 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 because it's got to get into the actual bark where the spores are lying dormant and kill those little mongrels. Otherwise, you're going to have trees full of disease, leaf curl and disease.
We've gone on to the disease. We were talking about pruning. You've moved on to the disease. But anyway, nothing else to prune? They come to mind like that?
Yeah, you just need to be going around. You should have already pruned peaches and nectarines. I had someone contact me the other day and saying, when's the best time to prune peaches and nectarines? Summer, after you've harvested the fruit. That's when you prune your peaches and nectarines.
What about our ornamentals and things?
Ornamental things, well, your roses, you want to be going around now and having a look at your roses before they start to kick in. And once again, it's a fungicide time to be spraying for those, for black spot. So get onto that, pruning all those back. And then, of course, any other trees, it's a great time to be shaping them up for spring flowering
before
plants.
They start to pop.
Before they start to pop. Big pop.
No propping. Okay, what about pests? I know you've just talked about, the shot hole, whatever it was called, things like that. But any other pests we should be, as usual, looking out for?
It's probably a good thing to do, particularly for apple trees, is now thinking about codling moth that are in the soil dormant. So, and people have followed me last year, and they've put bands of tape around the tree that have got Vaseline on them as a physical barrier to stop them climbing up the trees. It's a good time to either take the old one off and put a new one on a little bit higher up the tree and re-Vaseline it, or get ready to do that sort of thing. So that's something else you want to be looking at. And just have a look at what is also prevalent in the garden. It's also things like aphids at this time of the year are getting into your plants. So have a look at all your leaves of your brassicas, for instance, and make sure that they're all nice flat leaves. If they start to curl at the ends, it's a general indication that you've got aphids sitting in underneath that lip that are sucking out the goodness, and the leaves tend to curl over and collapse.
So we should have been spraying our Eco Neem and Eco Oil on a weekly basis so that doesn't happen. Okay, fantastic. What jobs can we do now that will save us some time and effort in spring? Anything in specific that apart from mulching and our soil conditioning and all those sorts of things?
Yeah, they're sort of things that you should be doing all the time on a monthly basis. Is going and doing all those and check those things. This is also the time probably for the last lot of the bare rooted stock that you might be getting. If you want to get a cheap tree, whether it be a deciduous ornamental or whether it be a fruit tree, have a look at what's available now at this month in bare root stock, and get those in. This is probably going to be about your last opportunity for picking some bare rooted stock up. So get those in. And if you're doing that, before you make sure you've dug your hole, lots of compost in it. If you can get hold of some Myco Gold, put that in the hole first as well before you backfill it and put the plant in. But if you get your bare rooted stock, have a look at the root system on it and put it into a bucket with a seaweed solution in there for an hour or so, and then put it in the ground, and then just prune that up so that it's giving a nice presentation.
Yep, fantastic. Great advice, Keith. Thank you so much. What is one often overlooked August gardening task that can make a big difference, Keith? Put you on the spot.
Oh, God. Well, I'm
gardening.
Gardening. I'm more curative rather than preventative. So I'm going around making sure.
Keep at it all the time.
Keeping at it all the time.
Don't suddenly go out there and think, I haven't done anything for a while.
No, yeah. I mean, golf courses and garden places, you have people called curators. So that's curative, but their job is preventive. So they're doing things on a regular basis to make sure that they're not having those big problems.
Yeah.
So just go out in the garden all the time and keep your eyes open, enjoy the space, but also have a little look at at what's possibly happening out there and get on top of it quickly.
That's what I do all the time.
I know.
Constantly looking out there and looking at the euphorbias out there that have had too much water, thinking, oh, well, I've just got to make sure I don't water. Don't rain. Okay, thank you.
And the other thing too, even though we're into August, we're only 4 weeks away from spring.
Which is exciting.
Yeah, which is very exciting. But there is still possibility of frosts.
Yes.
So have a think about that. And if there's a likelihood of frost, then I always recommend regular spraying with a seaweed solution. The seaweed solution will help thicken up the cells in the actual leaves, and that will make them more resilient to frost, burns, and all the rest of it. And if you have any plants that have suffered from frost, for goodness sakes, don't cut off the burnt foliage, leave it, because it's protecting the new stuff that's underneath.
Okay.
It's as simple as that.
All right. We mentioned the moon calendar and how everyone should have a moon calendar. What, during the month of August, what are the moon phases? When can we be removing plants from the garden, like vegetables from the garden beds?
Yep.
That sort of thing?
That's all on your moon calendar if you haven't got one. But, you've got a great opportunity to pull out weeds, to do your final pruning and fertilising on the days of the 4th until the 8th.
So this is the dormant period.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. According to the moon phases. And then, of course, we've got an opportunities this month to be planting root crops.
Right.
So we've got two lots. So any carrots, potatoes, radishes, turnips, these sorts of things, you can plant those on the 9th and the 10th of August, and then again on the 30th and the 31st of August to get the best possible growing rates for root crops. And then, of course, we've also got an opportunity this month to be replanting seedlings, not seeds, but seedlings of all the brassicas, so the broccolis, the cabbages, the kales, the silver beets.
Again.
So this is a late push into spring that will still give you a good crop coming up into late spring.
Okay.
So there's some other great opportunities for this particular month.
Fantastic. So there's plenty to do. So it seems that August is all about preparation and potential. A little effort now can make our spring gardening more rewarding and our gardens much easier to deal with. Enjoy the last few weeks of winter. Just a few left, which is great, before everything ramps up and our gardens spring to life again. So happy gardening, Keith.
Happy gardening.
Thank you for listening to Muddy Boots. For more information on today's podcast, please go to muddyboots.net.au, and happy gardening.